2:59 for 6 is the score. So England lead by 23. A very good 72 not out from Jamie Smith, who has Atkinson for company to resume in the morning. Going down the scorecard, there was a delayed start and play began after lunch. And Duckett was the first to go, LBW to Fernando for 18. And just one of those just swung back at him and caught him in front. That is Azita Fernando. Pope was then cleaned up also by Azita Fernando. Lovely ball that. It was quite a quick ball actually. Came back, went fizzing through his defence and hit the top of off stump. Pope was out for 6. And then we had Lawrence, of course, promoted to opening the innings for the first time for England. He got to 30. He was reprieved. He was given out LBW once, but rightly that was reviewed and overturned. He got to 30 and then played a bit of a wide one. It was pushed across him. This is from the left-handed. This is Vishwa Fernando, who bowls left arm and just pushed the ball across him a little bit. And I think Lawrence looked disappointed to have chased it and to have nicked it and to have been dismissed for 30. Joe Root looked in really good form, actually. He looked very well set. And rather surprisingly, edged to the keeper, low down for 42. Lovely 56 from Harry Brook, who got that outstanding ball from Jaya Surya, the left-arm spinner, who's really not turned anything all day. This on pitch leg and hit the top of off. And Brook stood there, almost with his mouth open, not really quite able to believe what had happened there. That was 187 for 5, so England's still behind at that stage. Chris Wokes joined Smith, and they took the score up to 239 before Wokes got a similarly good ball, not quite the savage spin that did for Brook, but enough certainly to beat Wokes' outside edge. And he smiled and nodded and said fair play to Jaya Surya as he walked off for 25. So that's basically the run of play for today, with Fernando, Azita Fernando, having a 3 for 61, and he bowled very well, 3 for 68 in fact, thank you, Andy, and Jaya Surya, the spinner, 2 for 58 from 21 overs. So we've got Russell Arnold, got Michael Vaughan alongside me. It's an interesting day. I think the crowd was a little bit restless there an hour to go because England rather sort of closed things down a bit, Michael. But it's been a fascinating day, nips and tucks, and Sri Lanka actually for much of the day looking as if they might put England in a bit of trouble there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been a really high quality day of Test match cricket. If you look at the dismissals, Duckett was a good ball, swinging back into the pads, just lost his balance. Wasn't expecting that ball to swing back as sharp as it did. Good bowling. Ollie Pope then gets a beauty through the gate, a ball that nips back from Fernando, fantastic. You look at Dan Lawrence and the way that he played, he gets to 30. He was a little bit scratchy. It's clear that he likes to play across that front pad, which I think Sri Lanka were trying to target early.
Yeah.
And then they made a clever change to put the left-hander with the wind going across from the Jimmy Anderson end, and that first kind of time of asking. He probably was expecting the ball to come back, but with the wind going across, he snuck a defensive ball, which he'll look back and think, I shouldn't be defending that. I've got to let that go through the keeper or play a really aggressive stroke. And then two dismissals. I mean, Harry Brook, I was on commentary on the tee. It came from nowhere.
Didn't it?
Real surprise, because nothing had been spinning. And then suddenly one spins sharp. Chris Wokes does what he always does, comes in and steadies the ship, plays nice, and then he gets the ball from Jaya Surya. It spins sharp. I think Sri Lanka will be pleased with the way that they bowled. I thought they bowled pretty well. There was one or two times with the seamers, apart from Fernando, where you thought, it looked quite nice for batting. But I think it's been a really hard-fought day. I think England have had to work for that 23-run lead. The problem for Sri Lanka is Jamie Smith, and he's a serious player.
Yes, he is.
He's making Test match cricket look very, very simple. From the minute that he walks out there, very similar to Harry Brook, actually. We always talk in cricket when players go out there, you might take them 20, 30 balls to get in. I think those two, in particular Harry Brook, he seems to be in when he walks out there facing the first ball. He'll bump one down the ground, look very busy. It's almost if he's gathering information when he's waiting to bat. So when the time he comes out there, he's almost studied. He's got loads in the computer and he just knows what's going to happen. He plays beautifully. And Jamie Smith is of the same kind of ilk that They just make him batting look very, very simple. So Smith is a real problem for Sri Lanka because he bats an hour or so tomorrow morning. They'll get 100 in front, and that on this kind of wicket will be a decent lead.
Yeah. How do you read today's play then?
Good day, I think, for Sri Lanka to hang in there. They kept persevering and did lots of things right. Initially, if I want to be critical, control the scoring rate. But then that came down to the fact that England have options, the type of game they play, the confidence they have. They're able to even tick it off, just keep poking the ball into gaps. Jayasuriya, until that one ball that turned against Harry Brook, until then it was just up and down stuff.
Yes.
They were able to hit him to every part. Moment that happened, he came into the game and there was variations and they were able to slow England down. So all in all, great day. They're still not way behind. They're on par with England. Hopefully, tomorrow morning they'll be able to clean up rather than the 100-run lead.
Yeah. And they've stuck to it well. I mean, we make a point when we come to Sri Lanka, on a broiling day, England's stuck to their whatever. This is not a nice day for Sri Lankans to feel, and there's a cold wind. There's been that rain blowing across, and you can see them with hands in pockets. I guess there's hand warmers and things.
Hand warmers, the tea bags.
They fielded well. They stuck to it well.
They were pretty good, I would say. At certain times, I thought they went searching. The fast bowlers bowled a little too straight, trying to hit the batters on the pads rather than staying on that fourth off stump where they got all the results. That's where the ball's keeping low or jagging around and causing problems. So maybe be more patient rather than rush things when you see an opening.
The pitch is strange, isn't it? Why is it that two balls have spun as sharply as that, for instance? And then let's not forget yesterday, Bashir's that rolled along the ground that turned sharply, and we've seen some keep low, but not all the time. But what makes why is it inconsistent?
I mean, it's quite a dry surface, so I'm guessing there's drier patches than others. I just think here at Old Trafford, I always think cricket here at Old Trafford is entertaining because you get that. You do get the odd ball and you think, oh, this is going to be a minefield. It won't turn out to be a minefield. It'll just continue to do what we've seen in the first 2 days where, if you play well, you'll get in and it'll look really flat. And then every now and again, you'll get a wicket and it'll just start to do a few tricks. And you've just got to be good enough to survive those kind of better balls. There's been balls this week, let's be honest. Chandimal's ball, yes, you can do nothing about that.
No.
He's grubbed along the deck. Harry Brooks, Chris Wokes, can't do a great deal about that. Ollie Pope. And that's why I say Sri Lanka are in this game.
Yes.
Because
if they can keep that lead down.
If they can keep the lead to 80 to 100 and then go and get 300, 350, and with that batting that they have on this kind of surface, there's not a great deal of pace. They'll face a lot of Bashir, but they're used to facing off-spin. All right, he's a tall off-spin. You don't get too many of those. But they're used to facing spin, so they should fancy getting runs against Bashir. If they can survive that new ball burst from Gus Atkinson, Chris Wokes, Matthew Potts, Mark Wood. I mean, Mark Wood now becomes so important on these kind of pitches because he's bowling 95 miles an hour. He's a point of difference. And that's one thing that Sri Lanka didn't have today. They didn't have the advantage of throwing the ball to someone that's bowling 95 miles an hour on this kind of surface. So, I think we'll play a big part in the second innings because if he's not getting wickets at one end, he's causing damage in the batters' minds because they know they might have to face him, and you know what that brings down the other end. I've really enjoyed the pitch. I really have, and I think it'll keep Sri Lanka interested. But it's all about, can they get the 4 wickets quickly or quick enough, and then can they really bat well in that second innings when they're going to be under a huge amount of pressure. And if they can ask England to get 200 in the last innings here at Old Trafford when the ball's just gripping a little bit.
A couple to spin early.
Sri Lanka, they can cause a shock this week, but it all comes down to that opening set because tomorrow, if Jamie Smith gets going, and we saw him against the West Indies at Edgbaston, he can crash the ball to all parts, and he can get 60 in the space of 30, 40 balls. If he does that, I think that'll be a test match towards England. If they can get Jamie Smith early and the lead's only 50 or 60, Sri Lanka are right in this test match with the way that the pitch is playing.
Yeah.
Bit like Headingley 10 years ago.
To mention that game to Alistair Cook. But yeah, you're right. I mean, that was, again, through a lot of hard work as well. I mean, they go back to the original point, really. Yeah, they really have got stuck in out there today.
They like how the pitch is playing too, because whatever turn we saw was in line with the stumps. And with the pitch dry, even though there's rain about, it's going to deteriorate. The unevenness and more turn will be on offer, and hence somehow grind the third day through.
Yeah.
Either way, get the wickets and then grind your way to a decent lead. So third day, moving day.
Yeah.
But I'll say, Russ, so let's be honest, England win day one, England have won day two, Sri Lanka have to win day three, but if they win day three, I think we have a really good test match here. But if England win day three and they win it quite well, it's not out of the realms that the test match could finish tomorrow.
Yeah, from here, winning the third day would mean bowling Sri Lanka out, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, England go and crash 120, 130 quickly. You know, you could easily see England bowling Sri Lanka out tomorrow afternoon. But, you know, Sri Lanka have to have the mindset and the positivity. They've done okay. 2 days into the series, they've done okay. They've hung in there, but they'll have to win tomorrow. If they win the third day, they have a sniff of this test match.
Wonder how much a day out there in the field will do them good as well, actually, because we talked about the lack of preparation and just not having played very much cricket in England on this trip, but to actually just have been out there all day, you know, fielding or whatever, taking wickets, having a decent day, whether that will actually help their batting as well. They will be just a little bit more acclimatised second time round.
Well, you'd think so, but now the eyes will be on the scoreboard and that lead. That's what it'll be all about, how much will England get ahead and the pressures of handling that as they go on. But the way they're fighting to stay in the game is what's impressive. And if they can keep doing that for another day or two, then they're in with a massive chance with defending 200 and spin coming into it.
Yeah.
So Jayasuriya, moment that ball starts gripping a lot more, he will be a handful. He's very accurate and he won't go away. No. That's for sure.
Yeah. And the other option, talk about the lead, that third innings is always a tricky one, isn't it? And
always tricky.
For a batting side, you know, a few mistakes, and you've lost the game.
And you're never in the back of your mind quite sure how to play it. You're never quite sure. Do you go aggressive to try and see off the lead and then get your own lead? Or do you just hang in there? If you hang in there, you go, bang, bang, a couple of wickets fall and you haven't done any work and you haven't got close to that lead. It's a real tricky, innings of probably the hardest innings of all.
It's about the lead, isn't it? Moment you're ahead and wickets in hand, it just changes the mindset.
I used to always say when we were up against a team that had a lead, if the lead gets to beyond 120, 2 players knock it off. So you take 2 out, so you're now batting with 9. How many can the 9 get to give them a challenge and a chase? And Sri Lanka might have a 100-run deficit. It might be a little bit less. It might be a little bit more. If you take 2 players out and say, right, 2 players will knock that deficit off, the other 9 players have got to get what England are going to have to chase.
So let's get the thoughts then from the England assistant coach, Marcus Trescothick.
Well, Marcus, how do you see it after 2 days?
Yeah, pretty good. I think we've had to work really hard today. A couple of good partnerships, a couple of nice positions we're into. Harry Brook played well, Joe Root played well, and obviously then Smith at the end there has obviously come in and played really well. So, it's a nice position where we are. I think we've got a few more wickets in the shed and a bit more time to bat tomorrow, and we'll see what happens after that.
What sort of lead are you looking for?
As many as we can get. Of course, you're always wanting more. If we can get 75. 100 from this sort of point, I think we'd be fairly pleased. I think we can see the pitch is starting to misbehave in a few different areas, a few low deliveries. Even yesterday we saw the low deliveries, and there's more and more as it goes along, and then you're starting to see a couple of balls spinning off straight, which is really encouraging. You think we're going forward to try and if we get a lead, to bowl them out in the third innings.
What did Harry Brook say after he came off after that delivery from Jayasuriya?
Well, not a great deal, really. I think you're appreciative of a good delivery. I think, having not seen it spun much, I think he was disappointed, but I think we were all surprised that a delivery out of nowhere suddenly hits the top of off stump, as it same did with Chris Woakes. It was exactly the same. Very, very similar deliveries, pitched in a very similar area, and obviously it turned both times.
What's your assessment of how Jamie Smith has taken to Test cricket?
It's been great, isn't it? I think we've seen lots of it in county cricket, him playing for Surrey in the way that he's gone about it, but instantly sort of coming into the Test arena and just looking at home and looking comfortable with what goes on, dealing with the pressures, coping with the different paces of bowlers and different things that goes along with it. And it's it's a credit really to think that we keep bringing in sort of new debutant players. And they're having instant success, which is really important for us.
What do you think he did particularly well today?
I think you sort of pick and choose your moments, sort of look at the right time to when to attack, when to sort of defend and sort of sit in a little bit. and he's done that pretty well. I think in a couple of games that we've played now, that he's there still. Well, I think he's 72 not out. Hopefully he'll come back tomorrow and carry on and get a big one.
Well, he didn't quite make it at Edgbaston, did he?
No.
He was out in the 90s, but he's got an opportunity tomorrow.
Yeah, exciting again tomorrow. I think there'll be a lot of people wanting to watch and hopefully see him go on to the next level and get that first 100, but we'll see what happens.
Just pushing ahead a bit, how many do you think would be tricky in the final innings of the match to chase?
I don't know. I don't think we've really sat down and thought about what that is at the moment. I think I think more importantly is to see how many runs we can get ahead, because obviously that's runs we don't have to score second time around. But I don't know. Normally you're looking at sort of 250, 300, aren't you? But we'll see what happens first.
And when you get bowling again, what will be the key out there, do you think?
I think the new ball is a key time. We're seeing wickets fall in both innings with the new ball. Once it goes a little bit softer, maybe then you've got to bowl straighter with straighter fields. And they did get the ball to reverse for a little period of time, but the more the rain comes down, I think there's a bit more overnight, so we'll see what it's like tomorrow. But if it dries up, you might see a bit of reverse come later in the day.
But overall, you feel you're in a decent position in the game?
Of course, we're ahead of their score already. We've still got 4 wickets to go. One established batter in there. If we can have a good morning tomorrow and set ourselves up for the rest of the day, we'll be in a good position for the game.
It's quite interesting. What did you make of? I mean, if Sri Lanka had kept the spinners on there, they would probably have carried on playing a bit longer. Actually, something though made them think, actually, we've had enough today. We're going to get the quick bowlers on, and we're going to go off. Do you think they just sort of had enough? We're going to go off, regroup, come back tomorrow fresh.
With the Gus Atkinson coming in, I thought they'd keep going. But then runs were starting to leak from the other end, and there was no threat at all. It looked so easy. Smith scoring at 7-8 and over, and they couldn't afford that. They couldn't afford England building on any run. So come back fresh, give Asitha Fernando a burst along with Prabhat Jayasuriya, your 2 best bowlers, and see if they can make inroads rather than England running away. Overnight, you're looking at 50 behind Omar. Well, that's not a great feel.
Yeah, I think it was the right call. Just get in.
Yes,
and you've had a long day in the
field.
Come
back tomorrow. You've got a new
long sessions.
Go and get the massage to get those limbs nice and loose for the morning. Get in the ice bath. Do whatever you have to do, and then that first burst in the morning. The first 30 minutes really could decide the Test match. If Sri Lanka get 2 and get Jamie Smith inside the first 30 minutes, I don't think the lead's going to be a huge one, and they'll have a really good chance of setting England something quite tricky in that last innings.
Yeah. Dan Lawrence, I mean, we've obviously had a lot of conversation about him. An opening out of position. We've talked about the way that he plays. There was obviously signs today of him again preferring that and aiming for that onside shot. It's quite dangerous for opening batsmen and new balls. Move away a little bit. What did you make of his innings?
Oh, he's not an opening batter. I mean, but you've got to look at the individual and think he's been given this chance, and he's been given an opportunity to open against an attack that it's okay, but it's not of the highest standard of Test match cricket. I don't think we'll see him a great deal after this series opening the batting, but you can only look at it from his perspective. He's been given a chance. He's going to try and grab it. He's missed a chance today because he got to 30, and he just switched off for that one ball from the left armour from the Jimmy Anderson end, and he kind of just defended a ball that was too wide to defend. But I don't think he's going to have a huge career opening the batting for England. But do I see enough to think that at 5 and 6 he could do some damage for England? Yes, I do. I think he's got quite a quirky game. Yes. Quite a risky game, which obviously Baz McCullum likes. He likes to get on with it, and he plays the spinners okay. Where he usually bats at 5 and 6, that's primarily what you need to do really well when you come in and you're going to face in quality spin. But yeah, I'm not going to judge him too much on opening the bat, and it's not his position. He's not an opener. He's been given a chance, and he's got it. What he has to do is try and grab it. In the next 2 games, next innings and the 2 games after, go and get a couple of hundreds. If you possibly can, go and get a couple of big scores, which makes sure when they start looking again in the middle of the innings, he's at the top of the tree.
Yeah. Alistair Cook's here as well. We're just about Dan Lawrence, actually. And it's terribly hard on the strength of his one innings, isn't it, to make any sort of judgment. What did you think of his effort today?
Yeah, it was a decent start. Yeah. And unfortunately, when you get thrown into the mix, as he has done due to an injury, he knows he's got probably 4 innings to make a statement and grab this opportunity. It's all about an opportunity for Dan Lawrence. Is he good enough to be able to take it? whether it's not career defining this Test match little thing, but it's this opportunity which he probably he could not get again if he doesn't score the runs. He's been carrying the drinks for so long, and now these two have said, right, Brendan and Ben have said, here's your chance. If he doesn't score the runs, then they'll look, well...
Is it right to judge him on it, though? Is it right to judge him on how he goes opening the batting?
Well, sometimes you can't pick where you play for England. In the ideal world, you wouldn't fly halfway around the world to make your Test debut. But you do it, and if you do well, you carry on playing, for example. Or, I don't know, there's so many other examples of people who've come in out of the blue and taken an opportunity and made themselves not selectable, if that makes sense. So it is so important that, it's just he's got an opportunity, and it's just whether he's good enough to take it.
Yeah. What did you make of the day? I've chatted to these two about the match situation. What did you think of the state of the game and how it's been today?
It's been a strange day, isn't it? I don't know whether it's just because we waited so long to get going. I'm surprised no one has kicked on. I never like a scorecard when everyone's got starts and no one's gone on and got a big score. Obviously, Jamie Smith has got that opportunity to do it. Obviously, both Brooke and Root and Lawrence got in and played beautifully, especially Root and Brooke. It was surprising that they got out. I know it was a good ball for Harry Brooke. Sri Lanka, I was impressed with how they stuck at their task.
Yeah.
Never good when you look at a session. You've got 2 hours 45 minutes to go. That's a serious stint in the field for the bowlers, a 4-man tack really, and they kept on running in. Tactically, they were decent at times. I didn't quite like the both sweepers out. I never like both sweepers out. I don't mind one sweeper out either side, but both sweepers out seemed a little bit too easy at certain times for England just to get singles. But they'll be saying, look, we picked up 6 wickets and they've kept them in the game. So they'll be saying their tactics are justifiable.
What about Jayasuriya? Those two balls. It seemed. I mean, I was saying to Michael, how does a pitch do that when it's basically he's not a huge spinner of the ball, he's a bit of a roller, and suddenly bang bang and those two balls come out.
Yeah, I haven't looked at him quite close enough whether he actually has deliberately done something different, but I don't think he has. I think it's just maybe a little spot in the wicket which when it does, it just grips for whatever reason. I think as a batter, I'm trying to think, can you, when someone hasn't turned the ball, so Harry Brooks one's almost like, well, he hadn't turned the ball, so it's fine. It's just one of those things. As a Jaffa out of the blue, yes, you just put your pads on and say, I've got beaten by a better ball. But now they know the odd ball might do it. Does that affect how they play? Well, I don't know. I was thinking if our right arm was bowling to me as a left-hander, mainly skidding on, you do then tend to stay a bit leg side of it because you don't want to get LBW. That's the danger thing. So you stay away from the ball and kind of open up. But then that does does give you the risk of one turning big like it does, or it makes it look like it's turning big. So England will just have to be aware of that. And for Sri Lanka, they're saying, well, if this pitch does that more and more, we get some kind of, you get a total to bowl out, they're in the game.
Michael, as a final sort of up sum from you, really, as to how you see tomorrow going from the perspective of both teams.
Well, I'm excited actually because I think there's usually when you get into day 3, you kind of almost the kind of outcome, you can see the pathway. I think the opening session is going to be fascinating because if England get 100 more, I think that's game done and dusted. But if Sri Lanka can get rid of Jamie Smith inside the first 20 minutes, which is always hard starting again, and the lead's around 60 or 70, I think we're in for a really good test match because I expect Sri Lanka to get a few more than they did in the first innings. So they got 236 in the first innings. Yeah. I think they will surpass that in the seconds. I don't think England will blow them away. I don't think it's that kind of pitch. And if Sri Lanka can look at a scorecard of something like 300, 320 required in the second innings to give England a chase of around 200, 220, I honestly have no clue how this test match is going to end up at the minute. If Smith's there after half an hour, I think that's done. I think England will get a decent lead and I think they'll dominate the test match. But if they can get Smith inside the first 30 or the first 20, ideally from a Sri Lankan perspective, I think we could be in for a bit of a classic test match this week.
Yeah. Pressure on Sri Lanka's batting tomorrow, Russell?
Certainly there is to perform, to get the numbers that Michael's talking about. I do agree with that. But for now, Asita Fernando, Prabhat Jayasuriya, those 4 wickets as early as possible is crucial. Think about the batting after that. Yes. Because if you can knock England over quickly, that'll create some doubt in England's mind about their batting going into the second innings as well. So in the bigger picture, there's a lot to achieve in that first 1 hour. go to your best 2 bowlers on show today and try and knock them over.